Sam got me this jumper for Christmas and I am obsessed with it. It's secondhand from the Ragged Priest, but we got it on Vinted. I found it and he bought it for me for Christmas and I am so grateful. I am filming this a few days after Christmas, so everywhere's a mess. I have Christmas stuff everywhere. I got presents, wrapping paper. I've kind of tried to move most of it out of shot, but it is just a big mess. I need to like sort out everything, but it's fine. I just really wanted to film this video because I have been kind of slacking with my uploads, mainly because I've been so ill recently, and also the videos that I have filmed have been really long, so it's taking me literally weeks to edit them. So I thought I should probably film some shorter videos so I can actually get more out. And yes, I am drinking coffee with a straw. The psychological subgenre has always been one of my favourites in horror and thriller films. I love something that gets me thinking. I love a horror film with a hidden meaning or one that uses symbolism, and even just films that explore the human mind and show psychology through their characters. I have been interested in this subject for most of my life. I studied psychology at college and then I went on to do it at university as well, and I now have a degree in psychology. I don't use it, but maybe one day it will come in handy. So I thought today I would recommend some of my favourite underrated psychological horror films that hopefully you haven't seen before. A few of these are newer watches for me. I think we have 2 from 2024 and they're just all ones that I really enjoyed for one reason or another. My first recommendation is a film from Brandon Cronenberg, and it's one that I only watched recently, and that is Possessor. This follows an assassin that uses a special technology to take control of other people's bodies. She does this in order to assassinate high-profile targets for work missions. I really like the main actor in this one. I recently also saw him in a film called Black Bear, which was a really good watch recently. His performances were so good in both of these films. I think he's really good at playing characters in psychological horror and thriller films. When he's playing the assassin that has possessed his body, it's so believable that there is someone else inside of him, like they are getting used to an unfamiliar body and a life that's not actually theirs. He is definitely an actor that's really good at portraying emotions, especially being distressed. To be honest, everyone's performances in this were amazing. This film is really well put together, especially with the script, the acting, the cinematography, and all of the attention to details down to the score, the colour palette and the use of lighting. This also did have some gore. The Cronenberg family are known for body horror. The whole premise is body horror, with it being someone else possessing someone else's body. But we do also get to see some gory body horror too, as well as some really cool visuals throughout the whole film. This concept is so original, which I think is another thing that the Cronenbergs are known for. The films are usually very weird and unlike anything that you've seen before. This film was on my watch list for ages and I can't believe I've only just watched it. So if it's on your watch list, then this is your push to go ahead and watch it, because hopefully you'll be really pleasantly surprised like I was. Possessor is available to watch on Shudder. The next film is Resurrection. This stars Rebecca Hall, which you may recognise from other psychological films like The Night House and The Gift. She is incredible in this role alongside Tim Roth. Resurrection follows a successful woman happy with her life, but one day an unexpected and unwanted guest, David, makes a reappearance. This film is incredibly strange and takes some real interesting turns. The premise is really original and I would put it in the same category as films like The Killing of a Sacred Deer, so if you liked that one then this might be one that you could be interested in. This does touch on some subjects that may be triggering to some people, so definitely look this one up and all of the other ones I talk about if you have any concerns. This one is available to rent on Amazon, Apple and Google Movies. The next film is a recent watch for me and it did actually come out in 2024, and that is Caddo Lake. So M. Night is actually a producer on this film, which I didn't actually know till halfway through when I had a quick Google of the cast, and it definitely makes sense that he was a part of it because this film has so many twists and turns. An 8-year-old girl goes missing around Caddo Lake. Her family rush to search for her and find some strange things happening around the lake. I'm not gonna lie, this one was very confusing at times, so you really do have to pay attention. This story reminds me of something that maybe Stephen King would write. It's really well done and made me feel so many different emotions. It was a lot better than I expected. I didn't really know too much about this film before I went into it. I think I must have saw it on Letterboxd because it was on my watch list on there, so I kind of recognised it when I was looking for something to watch and decided to just give it a go and ended up being quite impressed. I think the acting and the character interactions is what really sold me on this film, as that's where I felt the most emotions. I do have to say this one did drag on a little bit because it doesn't have the longest runtime, but it did feel like it went on for about 3 hours. That may be because it is quite confusing, or it may be because there isn't that many locations. It is just mainly set on the lake. But saying that, it was a really enjoyable watch, and I do recommend it if you're looking for something that is going to get your mind working. And like I said, this one is free to watch on Tubi. Next is a film called Censor. This follows Enid, who is a film censor who, whilst watching a disturbing film at work, believes that the actress is her missing sister and decides to try to find her. So a film censor is actually someone who watches films that may have some disturbing, offensive or inappropriate content in them. They examine these films and they can decide to remove scenes, remove little parts of the films, and they can also ban films entirely. I really enjoyed this film. It's got a bit of gore and it's really visually stunning. I absolutely love it when horror films use neon colours and lighting. I feel like it almost adds a cosmic element to it and it is just so beautiful to look at. Censor is a British horror film. It is a slow burn, but I thought the payoff is really worth it. And I really enjoyed the original concept. I don't think I've ever watched another horror film about film censors. It's well acted and well cast. I really enjoyed the 80s feel to it. This one is available to rent on Amazon Video, Apple TV and Google Movies. Next is a film called Swallow. A lonely woman who is married to a rich man discovers that she feels a sense of control when eating inanimate objects. The only problem is the thing she's consuming starts to get more dangerous. We're talking needles and things like that, and she becomes pregnant. I really love the body horror elements to this film. It's so squeamish, but also you don't want to look away when she's eating all these weird things. It is though actually a really sad film because of course what this woman is doing is a form of self-harm. There are some really beautiful shots and visuals. This film is far from perfect, but it is quite an interesting watch. It's also not too long at only 95 minutes. You can rent this one on Amazon Video, Apple TV and Google Movies. Lastly is a film called Blink Twice that also came out in 2024. I saw this one in cinemas and I wasn't sure what to expect, but it definitely wasn't that. This one really took me by surprise and I wasn't expecting it to have the disturbing elements that it did. There was actually a trigger warning before the film at the cinema which I have never seen before. Blink Twice follows a billionaire who meets a cocktail waitress called Frida at one of his events. He invites her and her friend back to his private island retreat along with all of his other friends. This is all they could have dreamed of, so of course they said yes. The island is full of luxuries and guests can spend their days however they choose. As the days go by on the island, Frida starts to notice strange things that make her question reality. This film really does take it there. Its premise is a fun mystery thriller with comedic elements. But the second half of the film really takes a turn and we see some really dark and disturbing themes. It's really interesting how it goes from this colourful, fun film to being really quite upsetting to watch at times. The acting was incredible. I loved Naomi Aki as Frida. I am so excited to see her in Mickey 17, as that's one of my most anticipated films for 2025. It was really interesting to see Channing Tatum in a role like this, although he was still very Channing Tatum in this role, being the popular guy with loads of money and the one that all the girls are after. We also saw a darker side to him in the disturbing scenes. I do think he was perfect for this role because it did add a more comedic element, which was an interesting contrast to the disturbing scenes, but I think if we didn't have that then it would just be a completely different film. You can rent this one on Apple TV, Amazon Video and Google Movies. That's the end of this video. Hopefully there's something at least on here that you haven't seen before. Let me know some of your favourite psychological horror films in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. I will see you again in the next one.